Are you falling victim of a big yet so common fallacy in development? Solutions which root in mental models of rural spaces are inadequate for systems which experience rapid urbanization. We're applying the wrong lens. So where should we start? We should start with abandoning the idea that urbanization has merely to do with cities.
Let's start by shifting how we think about urbanization. This isn't just about cities growing. It's about understanding the complexity of development in an urbanizing context. Urbanization-sensitive programming means recognizing how urban growth shapes and is shaped by many factors. The key is to urbanize your thinking, to see development through the lens of urban dynamics, appreciating the interconnected, evolving nature of urban spaces. This approach helps us design smarter, more adaptable solutions for the future of cities. Urbanization as a process. Urbanization is a process which is triggered by the development of urban centers. However, urbanization extends far beyond the margins of cities. It affects social, political, economic, and cultural systems across entire regions and nations. Hence, even people living in remote rural areas are affected and influenced by urbanization, and hence urbanized, even with no city visible at the horizon. Urbanization influences people's minds and desires. Urban-generated images and opportunities shape the worldview and desires of everybody. It affects the economies of rural, peri-urban, and urban places alike. Economic growth is mostly driven by urban development and growth, also in rural areas. Movements are determined by urban networks, be it to live in or visit cities to trade, work, get access to services, etc. Hence, while by 2050 only 68% of the world population are expected to live in urban areas, urbanization will extend to 100%. Urbanization and development. Developing growing urban areas is the focus of developmental efforts, involving planning, designing, building, and managing cities to become more efficient, sustainable, healthy, and inclusive. However, urbanization will soon impact 100% of the global population and territory, whether they are classified as urban or not, making any development take place in an urbanizing context. This means that the context of any development intervention is rapidly transforming and changing. The relationship between urbanization and development is reciprocal. Development is influenced by urbanization, and development interventions, in turn, influence and shape the urbanization process. Urbanization is not just a sector, a transversal topic, or a working area. It is a universal context that impacts and alters development work, shaping its nature and outcomes. This necessitates a shift in perspectives and modes of thinking. Urban areas aren't just cities. They encompass a range of settlement types, from rural villages to large urban centers. These different settlements are connected through a network of centers, including large centers, small centers, and subcenters. The gravitation of cities increasingly influences rural areas, which become part of the urban system as their hinterland. Recognizing this interconnectedness helps us understand the urban landscape as a system, where development in one area affects others. This perspective is essential for programming that respects the complexity of urbanization. Within these systems, manifold transactions occur, shaped by the structure and dynamics of the urban system. These transactions follow the rural-urban continuum and occur across different cities. These transactions, which are mainly horizontal, occur between neighboring entities, such as neighboring cities or cities, and their hinterlands. This spatial dynamic is a key feature of urban systems, as transactions occur mainly horizontally, rather than vertically, between different levels of governance, in decentralization processes. 10 dimensions manifesting urbanization. The approach is based on the identification of 10 dimensions through which urbanization occurs. Essentially, these dimensions would not manifest themselves prominently if urbanization was not taking place. Urbanization can also give these dimensions a new perspective. For example, while basic services could be provided independently of urbanization, the impact of urbanization changes the way these services are delivered. Land has always been an important resource, but in rural areas, its value is based on agricultural production factors like fertility. In contrast, in urban areas, the value of land changes as it becomes a purely locational factor, determining access to the urban system. Mutual influence between development processes and dimensions of urbanization. The 10 dimensions of urbanization do not include aspects one might expect, such as migration, or natural resource management, or governance. The latter are development areas and processes, which stand in the previously mentioned reciprocal relation to urbanization. These processes influence the manifestations of urbanization, and the manifestations of urbanization influence these processes. But they are not the same. They are not a replication. Development processes, often represented by specific sectors and themes, are interdependent with the various aspects of urbanization. These processes both influence and are influenced by the 10 dimensions of urbanization. However, it's important to note that no direct one-to-one relationships exist. For example, governance cannot be simply equated to spatial justice. Instead, each dimension is affected by, and, in turn, influences multiple development processes. From a strategic perspective, these interdependencies harbor the potential to integrate fragmentation. To tackle one dimension of urbanization, it is necessary for different processes to work together in synchrony. This often involves spanning across different thematic silos and requires coordination, joint strategizing, and planning.